President Trump is going full tilt in Pennsylvania this afternoon as he works to regain support in the highly critical swing state. According to the latest battleground tracker, Vice President Biden leads President Trump by a margin of 53 to 46%. The former vice president plans to visit the Keystone State in the 2 days leading up to the election. With these stops, the Biden campaign hopes to emphasize the importance of the vote in Pennsylvania and swing the state blue on Tuesday. John Mysick is the editor-in-chief at the Pennsylvania Capital Star, and he joins me now. John, we've been talking all day about your state, and President Trump put 4 rallies on his schedule Saturday across Pennsylvania, so it's definitely on the president's mind as well. This is at least his 8th trip to the crucial swing state since September. How have those visits during the pandemic been received by voters there?
You know, Lana, where you stand on this depends on where you sit, really. Among President Trump's supporters, and we see this in our social media, we see this in our chat or in our emails and our conversations, the support is still there. The Trump people are solid as can be. Among Democrats, they look at these large-sized rallies that the president has been doing as potential super spreader events in the midst of a fall surge of the coronavirus pandemic in Pennsylvania. It's been a pretty predictable breakdown, really, along partisan loyalty lines.
Well, our CBS News Battleground Tracker poll shows Vice President Biden has a 7-point lead over the president in Pennsylvania. 2 questions on this. What sort of factors are influencing those numbers, and do you believe these polls?
It's been pretty remarkable how consistent Joe Biden's lead has been throughout all of this. I was drilling down into the data before our conversation here, and several things really jumped out at me. Older voters who went for President Trump in 2016, those aged 65 and older, are now in Joe Biden's column. Those aged around up to 49 to 65 remain pretty steady Trump voters in Pennsylvania. The president has the support of, Vice President Biden has the support of younger voters, those aged 18 to 49. If you look at sort of the demographic breakdowns as well, Lana, those with a college degree favor former Vice President Biden 59% over Donald Trump. Non-white voters 67% to Biden over President Donald Trump. And Philadelphia and its suburb, which is really a really critical area, 75% support for Biden in Philadelphia, 66% for Biden in the very populous suburbs. And that's the president's first stop today in Bucks County, a county that Hillary Clinton won by just a percentage point in 2016.
Well, we know how crucial all of those turnouts are going to be for both the campaigns. But more than 2 million Pennsylvania residents have already voted by mail. And according to state law, election officials cannot open mail-in ballots there in Pennsylvania until 7 a.m. on Election Day. How big of a delay are you expecting to see in Pennsylvania's voter count this year?
Lana, going into the weeks before the election day, there had been a real press by Governor Tom Wolf, a Democrat, and his allies in the General Assembly to expand that so-called pre-canvassing deadline to give counties more time to open those envelopes, not to count them, but to at least open them and have them ready to go in advance of Election Day. There's a real concern there about a delay in a count. At least 7 Pennsylvania counties say they're not going to start counting ballots until the Wednesday after Election Day. So that's another big concern for potential logjam as well.
Yeah, it is. It's so interesting, given the large number of early ballots and absentee ballots that are being turned in, that it is so important in this election in a way that we've never seen in a previous election. And seeing how state by state there are all these differences in terms of when ballots can be processed, when they can actually be counted. And as you mentioned, there are these officials in several Pennsylvania counties who've said that they're not going to even open the ballots until November 4th, the morning after Election Day. 2/3 of Pennsylvania's mail-in ballots reportedly belong to registered Democrats. I'm wondering, as you're covering this election, how big of a swing do you expect to see once these mail-in ballots are opened?
Sure. I mean, we've already been seeing this reporting nationwide about this so-called red mirage. We know that more Republicans intend to vote in person than do Democrats, so that we could have that early result where it looks like the race is going the president's way. When you have all of those counties start counting Democratic votes afterwards, you'll start seeing those numbers emerge, and it's disappointingly transparent on the part of these 7 counties, mostly they're Republican controlled, that seem to be sort of furthering that red mirage scheme for setting the stage for the president perhaps to try to discredit the results. Assuming even though that 6-point average that you showed at the top of this segment holds, that would be a blowout for Joe Biden, considering how close the state was in 2016. 44,000 votes, less than a percentage point. The Real Clear Polling Politics average has it at about 3.8%. Even a victory at that much would be a big win for Biden compared to 2016.
So, John, I don't know if you heard, I was just talking with Caitlin about the potential for legal challenges. I'm wondering if, on your perspective there, do you think that this delay in opening the ballots could be part of an issue if Republicans challenge the results in court? Are there other things that you are watching for there in your state?
Sure. I actually heard a bit of Caitlin's segment at the end there. And what's really important is this U.S. Supreme Court decision that came down just the other day on the 3-day extension for ballots, where they can count them up until the Friday after Election Day as long as they're postmarked by November the 3rd. The court has held open the possibility that they could take that up after Election Day. And Secretary of State Kathy Boockvar has asked counties to segregate ballots received after the 8 p.m. poll closing with just that expectation. We know that the Biden team has an army of lawyers ready to go. They're expecting to have to litigate this after the polls close. Similarly, I'm sure the Trump people are firing up their lawyers. We know the RNC has a battery of lawyers ready to go as well. So we're preparing for sort of a protracted siege here, irrespective of what happens or what the result might be, whatever indication we have on Tuesday.
Very interesting what's happening there in your state, this really crucial battleground, and in particular, these legal challenges that may follow. John Misick, thank you.
You bet.